What do you think a father brings to the table that a mother doesn't?
My mom was she's like the head honcho of the house.
And crime is caused by unwantedness, and abortion reduces unwantedness.
I lived my life for things that my dad wanted me to do.
There really wasn't much I did with my father. He was a workaholic.
My father was an alcoholic.
Again.
Hey, Dad. How are you?
So today I'm out here and the question I'll be asking is, what is your relationship like with your father?
When I was born, he was still in World War II. Didn't come into my life till I was 3 or 4 years old. Worked 2 jobs. Didn't have much tolerance for kids.
A little bit complicated. If you went to him for advice, he'd be like, yeah, you figure it out.
Are you a father yourself?
I have numerous children, roughly somewhere in between 30 and 45, because in my 20s, I was a sperm donor.
I'm curious, have you met any of them? Or?
I have not.
I'm more of a mama's boy for sure. She carries a lot of the emotional weight in my life.
I talk to my dad almost twice a week, but I love my dad. He loves me.
Growing up, it was always something. I lived my life for things that my dad wanted me to do.
How has that evolved though?
A few years, we weren't really communicating or talking. And so nowadays, he stops and listens to me.
I'm Jim Sexton. I'm a divorce lawyer in New York City. I've been practicing divorce law for about 22 years.
If you don't mind me asking, what was your relationship with, your father?
My father was an alcoholic. Hardly spoke to me, but never laid hands on me, never abused me. This is a man who had all the men in his wedding party die in Vietnam, lost most of his friends in Vietnam, and then he got sober when my mom died. I finally said to him, listen, I'm done with you. She's dead. We don't have anything left to talk about, you and I. Never talked about this before in an interview.
Welcome back to TheChowTimePod. It's your host, Red. I got a videos a day from Gen. Is fatherlessness destroying our youth? Destroying Gen Z? I actually think it is. Please subscribe down below. I really appreciate that. Let's get that chow. It's chow time.
When 1 in 4 American homes are fatherless, it's clear that it's a growing problem. And so Gen Z especially are turning to others for guidance, and some are providing that, but some have capitalized.
For all my young boys out there, you guys want to know why I'm successful? I never took a girl seriously.
I kind of see where this is going. I did not know. I thought it was more of like a documentary, but I see where he's pointing this.
Ever.
So I wanted to explore the impact of the fatherlessness crisis, not only for the next generation, but for past generations as well. But is this crisis just a symptom of a larger problem? And more importantly, how can I overcome my own struggles with my own father? I guess we gon' see. Can you just give—
Dude, I have my own struggles with my father too. Like, my father and I hardly ever speak. When we speak here every so often, but I have no inkling to ever really want to reach out to him so often. We're pretty estranged.
A quick rundown of who you are and what you do.
I run an online space called The Tin Men, platform for discussing various political and social issues that impact men and boys.
Everybody needs to go and follow The Tin Men on Instagram. I absolutely love it.
You said that your mission is to essentially explore the forgotten gaps of the gender debate. Would you say that this fatherlessness crisis is a forgotten gap in the gender debate here today?
There's an interesting theory called Donahue-Levitt theory. In the 1990s in America, New York was having a massive violent crime surge, and a lot of criminologists were terrified, and then it went up and up and up and up and up, and then it came drastically down against all expectations, and everyone was falling over themselves trying to explain why. 2 economists, Levitt and Donahue, came along and proposed this very controversial theory, and the answer is probably women winning reproductive rights 15, 20 years before. So instead of forcing a woman to have a child that she can't afford or doesn't want, that child has an increased likelihood of becoming a criminal later in life. And crime is caused by unwantedness, and abortion reduces unwantedness. Today, that is violent.
This is something that we don't talk about on the red pill side, right? What abortion and things do help out in society, other than how we feel about the murdering.
And crime also being caused by a lack of fatherlessness, a lack of committed fathers.
So if feeling unwanted is one cause for why people commit crime, having a present father can only help, especially when most crimes are committed by men. So I wanted to ask the streets on what value a father has. What do you think a father brings to the table that a mother doesn't?
How to fix your car or something, or gardening outside. So we do a lot of the manual tasks together.
I don't know. My mom was she's like the head honcho of the house, and he's there for support.
My dad was the breadwinner. He's very stable, logical.
Well, it's sort of like, what does a man bring to a relationship? What does a woman bring to the relationship? When you find someone to marry, look at the relationship she has with her father, because that's her role model, and that's the relationship she's going to have with you.
So if the person you choose is not just your spouse, but possibly a future mother or father, fatherlessness doesn't just impact crime, but how people show up in relationships.
This is
So
true.
who better to ask than a divorce lawyer about this?
You could be.
You know what? It trips me out that this gentleman popped up and then it became so big when TLA, the lead attorney, has been doing this for quite a few years now, and he's not as big as this guy. It's just funny.
An excellent parent and just not be good at being a spouse. You might be mismatched with your partner. I mean, a lot of people choose their romantic partners between the ages of 18 and 30, or you may be the type that you grow apart and you become more, dissimilar. I think the more normal reason why fathers are minimized, unintentional second order effects of the boom in divorce, the boom in how much people work, and the impact that has on their available time for their families. Like, it's a lot of things all at once.
And so what?
I'm not a big fan of abortion, nor, do I push for it, but I understand it was necessary. There were a lot of issues that society needed help with, and letting women have abortions to get rid of unwanted children, as much as I hate to say it, it really did help stabilize some things. But what I have a big issue with is no-fault divorce. I feel like when no-fault divorce was introduced, that was what really kind of broke the family.
Whether due to divorce or absence, it's clear husbands and fathers have distinct roles and impact. Mothers with absent or distant husbands are not only at a higher risk of developing antenatal depression, but fatherless children are also at risk. Girls without fathers are 8 times more likely to have teenage pregnancies, while fatherless boys often exhibit aggression, delinquency, and an increased likelihood of committing a crime. And so oftentimes having a father or not can either set you ahead or set you behind. And so I was curious to ask the divorce lawyer on what impact his alcoholic father had on his life.
The goal, I think, of fatherhood is to move things a little further. Maybe 6-7 months after she passed away, and he called me. I just want to let you know I've quit drinking and I'm going to AA. And I hung up the phone and I thought, you know what? You should give this guy a win on this. Like, he made progress.
And so we'll come back to the rest of his story, but man, that was inspirational for me to hear. Because as he said, if the purpose of fatherhood is to make progress, it made me think, what role can I play in improving my father and I's relationship? Like, what steps can I take now to move towards a better future, especially when I'm a dad myself? I was beginning to form an idea, but with a lot of things in my mind, from my daddy issues to now, since I'm full-time on growing this channel and our online presence, I was starting to get worried. But thanks to our in the description below. And now, back to the video. I wanted to focus on exploring what's exactly causing this crisis.
I think people need to stop having children. They want to have kids as an accessory. It's expensive, and there is a lot of pressure on the man to bring money to the table, and that could be another thing that scares a lot of men.
Lack of strong marriages, the family unit isn't as tight anymore.
Has somewhat to do with women finding their ground and comfortable with being independent, which I think is...
That's the part. That's women are independent and they want to raise kids by themselves, and they think it's easy and it's okay to do that. That's what society seems to propagate single mothers and show them, oh, you're wonderful, you're doing great, you're doing this, you're a wonderful mother. But it really isn't. It's kind of a choice that is a detriment to the child.
It's a great thing.
And so when asking across generations, there's many reasons. But again, when 1 in 4 American homes are without fathers, and Gen Z...
That's fucking crazy, guys. 1 in 4 kids are without fathers. That's a lot of kids, guys. A lot of kids.
Are turning to digital father figures. Are they at least getting the guidance that they need?
Would you say that the problems that Gen Z are currently experiencing are explained by the fatherlessness crisis?
I do feel like a lack of positive male role models, especially in the media, is an emerging and increasing problem. And we've gone from Mr. Rogers, now we have like...
I love Mr. Rogers. I teared up when he passed. It was a show that I watched a lot. I learned a lot of manners. I learned a lot of how society was so loving when I was young.
Homer Simpson, Peter Griffin, basically clowns, or reflection of masculinity, and fathers especially. I know in the UK the Advertising Standards Authority had to actually step in to ban adverts that routinely framed dads as...
Oh, shout out to UK for doing that.
competent.
So when this fatherlessness crisis seems like a symptom of a larger problem that's getting worse and worse, why aren't more people talking about it?
Why do you think this topic of male issues have become so polarized? And what impact has that had on being able to hold discourse?
The left have failed them even more so than the right. The right has in some way at least tried to take hold of the conversation, largely through people like Andrew Tate, Fresh and Fit, and who I do not like. They are a symptom of a wider problem, which is how the left have sort of forgotten boys and men. And although there certainly are advantages to being a man, it's a bit more nuanced than that. Men and boys are increasingly conservative anyway, and women and girls are becoming increasingly liberal.
That's exactly right. With 44% of Gen Z women identifying as liberal compared to 25% of Gen Z men, this marks the largest gender gap since polling began in 1998. And the right is capitalizing on that trend. Republican Party candidate Vivek Ramaswamy has supported the importance of the nuclear family in the two-parent household. And he has criticized American culture and government for pushing anti-family incentives. And many right-wing influencers and organizations are following suit. But if we're gonna look at it both sides, is this an attempt by the right to pander male voters, similar to how the left has targeted women according to George? Whatever be the case, clear that the issue is more complex with numerous factors rather than the simplistic perspectives of just blaming women. So the most important question is, what is the solution?
As a divorce lawyer, how do we fix this fatherlessness crisis?
From a legal level, people learn through fear and greed. They do the right thing because they're afraid of getting in trouble. So we have to create consequences for the serious problem of alienating children from a father or mother. I'm tired of men being bashed. We put men on the moon, for God's sake. Men are less often the primary physical parent who's a stay-at-home parent. Therefore, they couldn't, or they're not as good at it. I don't think that's even vaguely true. All the research shows that children have better outcomes when they have substantial, meaningful access to mothers and fathers.
I'm curious, what is something that you did as a father that your father didn't to your kids?
We did.
You know, as much as I love my mother, I'm probably more of a mama's boy than a daddy's boy. I still love my dad a lot. I know if I was raised only by my mother, it would have been a rough life. My mom was so emotional. She was a little bit abusive when she was young, when I was younger too. So it's so hard to fully comprehend the difference between a father and mother unless you really fully compare it and look at the two people. You know, my mother, yes, she did a lot of things, but my father also did a lot of things. My father handled a lot of things my mother couldn't. My mother did a lot of things my father couldn't. It's nice to see both of them working together. At least how I grew up, they both worked a family business together. My dad would go bake donuts at night, and my mother would go in a little bit later in the evening and go help him dip the donuts, dip the frosting and things. And it really showed me that you're building together. Yes, you sacrifice things. Yes, some people are better than other things. But if you were being supported by one or the other, it makes it just so much harder to comprehend what other people see when there's two parents.
Did everything with our kids because there really wasn't much I did with my father, and in fairness to him, he was a workaholic.
How did fatherhood change you as a man?
Took the focus off of me, realized that my kids were essentially everything.
Fatherhood, it holds a mirror up to you. If you saw somebody drop their wallet and no one would ever see it, a lot of people would go, yeah, just stick it in my pocket then. And if you say to them, what would you tell your kid to do? That's the real test of their morality. We give up on ourselves a lot faster than we give up on our kids.
So with that in mind, I was curious about the outcome between the divorce lawyer and his father and how I could apply it to my own struggles with my father.
About a year or two later, he was really a different person. He would send me text messages like, I'm so proud of you. And I remember I was like, yeah, f you. You want to have a catch now? You know, come on.
Damn. Okay, I have very similar feelings to how James has with his father.
Come on, man. Like, I learned how to not need that. And then I realized, like, yeah, that's my stuff. And that's not healthy to carry around. So I worked through it. We've developed in the last, 4 or 5 years now, since that. We have a very lovely relationship. I see him differently now.
Growing up, my dad was by no means an alcoholic or abusive. In fact, quite the opposite. He was always there for me and really gave me a great childhood. But I'm sure some of you watching can relate. As I've gotten older, I've realized that I've never had that type of relationship that I've desperately wanted as a kid from a father. I call it lack of trust or emotional.
I know this exact feeling. My father was a good father. I have no, I can't really say anything bad about how he fathered me and what type of father he was, but he was very not present. You know, like sports, coming to my sporting events, coming to a lot of my award ceremonies were just not important to him, at least at those times. If he did come to my graduation and, you know, made time for that, but all those smaller things, he felt it wasn't big enough for him to congratulate me or to be proud of me. So I don't know, growing up as Asian, I think it's a little bit different than how a lot of you guys grew up with, you know, other fathers.
Connection, but at a certain period it's gotten to a point where I've developed resentment, where even a simple phone call from him was stressful. And in many ways it's
damn, every time my dad calls me, I'm just like looking at it and I'm like, do I want to pick up? I have this exact feeling, you know, like as much as I want to push everybody to be with their fathers and to love their fathers, I myself have a little bit of issue with myself just because of what recently happened with my mom passing and how my father and mother separated. It's just a raw wound for me still. But I want to be with my father. I want to build that great relationship with him. I yearned for it. Like Jen said, like ever since I was a kid, I yearned to play catch with my dad, to go shooting with my dad and do all these things that I never got to do. And now I kind of have that ability, but I'm a little bit jaded and I don't really want to reach out to him. And this is kind of helping me kind of work over a little bit of things.
Has come a long way, but it's been 7 months since I've even visited or talked to him on the phone.
I hope now that when my own sons, if they become fathers someday, that they will move the ball a little further. Maybe they won't be workaholics like I was. It's never too late to, I think, become a better father or a better son. And I think there's real value in it.
Because if the goal of fatherhood is to continue moving things along, then what the hell was I doing as a son to make that happen? Because things will always get busier and busier. But if we're too busy to even talk to the person who's raised us since I've had in my diapers, what kind of father am I gonna be when I have kids?
I can agree with this.
Hi again.
Hey Dad, how are you?
How are you? Okay, happy holidays. Where are you?
I'm in Brazil right now. How's everything?
Okay, how are you enjoying there?
Good.
Good. I've been following your activities. And how you guys get?
Oh man, this is this is gonna be a little rough. I wish I wish my dad would do very similar things or say some similar things. My dad, he has said that he was proud of me more recently because my YouTube, I've been really working it, and my cousins have been telling him about my YouTube and all these things. So he's seeing it from not from me, but from my cousins' point of views and how they're proud of me. So it's interesting.
Getting along there.
I'm very proud of this young gentleman. He's much younger than me. He's in his 20s. He has a kid. He's doing well. He's doing what he needs to do, and he's focusing on what he needs to focus. And his content is awesome. His content really makes people think, especially this one. This one's making. Tell the truth, I might call my dad right after this.
Proud of you because you're very.